Yeah, we're good. Sweet. So we can just go whenever? Awesome. So, hey everybody. Thanks for coming. We are Humm.xyz. We are making the future of IP-endorsed AI ownership. So what's the current landscape of AI ownership right now? So currently, OpenAI is getting sued by the New York Times for using their data and their models. Some of these unrelated text-to-video companies are afraid to create videos of real people just because of defamation issues, some legal reasons. And it's impossible to trace some of these IP, some of the input data and the output of these LLMs. So what do we think the future of AI and blockchain is here? So we believe that everyone will have an AI agent of themselves at some point. So everyone here in the crowd will eventually have a version of yourself. Whether you want to sell that to someone, whether you want to use that for personal gain, whatever that may be, you will have an AI version of yourself. We want to make sure that when you have this agent, you're actually able to set limits on it, so you have full control of the interaction permissions, whether that's, I don't know, OpenAI making a bot of you, or any sort of manipulation of that AI self. We see the future being that the ownership is split between the devs who are going to make your agent and yourself. So whenever you monetize off your AI self, so do the developers who made it.
Hi everybody, I'm Will. I'm also a co-founder at Humm. And just to outline Humm's vision for the future. So the first problem that we wanted to tackle was, how do we actually incentivize people to upload their data, right? Right now people try their absolute hardest to keep it secret, and for good reasons. If you look at companies like OpenAI, they monetize your data without your permission and you get essentially nothing in return. The second aspect is on-chain inference. So we're using OPML right now as a way to actually prove that our model's outputs are indeed the output of the given model and the input data that's required to make the inference. So the reason that this is so important is because if you have some central entity right now and say they have several models, there's no IP issues with using expecting one model and getting the other. But if you start training on users' data where you're expecting to monetize that data and actually endorse it, it becomes a lot more important to actually prove that the model output is indeed what you were expecting. The next aspect that we're tackling is inefficiencies in the current market for data. I'll get into that a little bit later, but essentially anonymization laws make it very difficult for users to choose how much their data should be sold for, and also for users whose data is significantly more valuable to actually be sold for a lot more money. And the last tenet is empowering IP owners to have full control of their data. So I think I want to tackle this first one first. Why would people upload their data to Humm? And in the case of an AI agent of yourself, the first answer is better model equals more money. So right now our default way of training models is simply to scrape Twitter data. So this works decently well. However, it would be improved a lot by email data, message data, and all the other private data that you have on your phone. There are several companies, Spiffy is one, which train models on your email data to try to make emails in your exact tone, and we're trying to replicate that for AI chatbots. And the second is, what else are people doing with it right now? People are essentially giving away their data for free to companies like Meta, and they're not getting compensated for it.
Cool, so how does that look? Right now we're gonna have some developer that makes, let's say Alice is the framework here. So the developer will give all the public data that he has to make an Alice agent. We'll have some user that wants to interact, so whether that's someone who just wants to talk to the Alice agent, maybe they'll pay for that a certain amount, and that will go directly to Alice's wallet. Since it's used for Alice's IP, it's her complete agent. Any money that goes to Alice's agent should go to Alice's wallet. And when Alice says the okay, like, okay, this agent does represent me correctly, I actually want this to be shown to people, Alice can submit her custom data, maybe that's private data, like Will was saying with the messages or emails, then the developer will start to get paid. So this is what would happen when Alice does not accept the current agent. So when it's attached to her IP, but she didn't accept what it's saying, what it's doing. The developer doesn't get any money, the agent gets shut down, and Alice gets whatever money was made in the meantime. So right now, this is sort of just like the basic outline of how that looks. The developer is just putting in data. Eventually, we want to move this to more of a interoperable ability. So right now, we would have our app layer where Alice's agent can interact with the developer who creates it and the user who wants to talk to it. The app can then query a contract that has Alice's data. Currently, Alice can have preset permissions, like maybe, yeah, give out my data to anyone as long as you follow these rules and you're compensating me in this amount. Then she can send the data back to the app layer, which will make the agent better just in the long run, just as it was in the previous slide. But now, Alice can also interact with other apps. So Alice can export this agent or just give it the data. But Alice can export this agent from the front-end app, give it to a, let's say, gaming app who wants to use Alice's NPC or Alice's agent as an NPC. So now she can control all of this single agent that the developer has made for her. It's been refined, and now it can be given to a bunch of different apps. And all of this is attached to her wallet, so any revenue she makes, or any revenue these app layers make will go to Alice's wallet.
Yeah, so to dive back into the second tenet of our company is provability of model inference. Right now we're using OPML just for speed reasons, and we think this is very important because without this, it's very difficult to actually track IP associated with a model. As James mentioned earlier, tracing what an output of a model was actually trained on that gave it that output is essentially impossible. So right now we're focusing on fully modularizing what models are trained on what data in a way so that when an output comes, we know exactly where it came from, what IP it was tied to, and who should be compensated for it. Additionally, I think that interoperability is a very important thing that we're trying to do down the line, especially with these models. We could eventually have one language model querying another language model. For example, you could have permissions where GPT-4 could query a language model trained exclusively on your data in a way so that there's no difficulties in proving ownership in the case of, say, the New York Times.
And so this is how we would interact with, right now we're talking with Aura protocol, which is basically abstracting all the machine learning, basically just model generation. So what we'd be doing is we'd be sending in Alice's data from her contract with whatever request comes from the app layer. So let's say it's the gaming company who wants to request a response from Alice's agent. That request will be sent to Aura, which will do all of the model work on their end, give us a response with a proof that indeed the output of the model was with the data. And we can send that response back to the app layer. And this way, we're never actually sharing Alice's data and Alice's model with the app layer at all. So she can just basically keep her data, obviously, somewhere off contract, some secure storage, and then the app layer will never be able to access her data.
So to jump into the next aspect of our company is empowering the IP owners. So we really want to leave the control of the agent, even though it might be public to everyone to interact with, up to the agent. So right now we're programming it so that IP owners can, one, choose what data their model is trained on. So this could include both uploading data or choosing to abstain from using certain data, like Twitter data that's public or even other public transcripts, etc. The next way that we're empowering the IP owners is through allowing them to design equity splits. So there's a big technical moat for users to really monetize off of, or profit off of the AI revolution. And that's because if you're not an engineer and you don't have equity in a tech company, it's very difficult to actually make money. However, what we're trying to do is tie IP owners to developers in a way so that IP owners can actually make money off of their own data. And to do that, we need to allow them to design equity splits with these model developers in a way that's fair. Lastly, we're making it so that the IP owner can always turn the agent completely off if they want. We think that this is very important just to promote Promote the ability for IP owners to have control over their data.
Sure. So this is the future of how we see, sorry. This is the future roadmap for Humm. We see individual agents as only being the starting point. We could have multiple agents, such as companies that have multiple individuals that build a single agent. It could be, like, there's many different avenues. Many of them could be a combination of individuals. We just want to be able to promote interoperability. Obviously, if you have an agent that's really, really good, you don't want to just hold it on one app layer. You're going to want to divvy that amongst many layers. And also, we want to become the go-to platform for these IP-endorsed AI models and training and actually refining these models. But, sweet. Any questions? How's it going?
Yeah, that's very much still up in the air. Realistically, off-chain somewhere, just because especially if open source models eventually catch up with, the size of GPT-4, and we have all these trillion parameter models living in the ether, it's going to be too computationally expensive. So probably somewhere off-chain, but it's something we're still talking about as a team.
Yeah, so we're a few days out from launching what we want to at the moment. So give us some time and we'll get it out to you. But the first iteration will basically be trained, like 50, or we're going to throw it out to the community to sort of build out like the first iteration of bots based off of, or agents, and then we want to have them being sort of like interactive agents at the moment where anyone can interact with, let's say like Elon Musk's agent. And then that can be sort of refined by the developer, obviously with more middle tier level status people. Maybe they'll go claim it. Obviously, Elon's not going to go do that. But we do have claiming operations already. So if Elon Musk does go on, a developer did create his bot, he can claim it and now start to accrue revenue based off that. Anyone else? It's probably the flywheel of getting these developers and users on. Obviously, if we had a ton of developers on that were making all these cool bots, we would be the default platform for that. It's just a flywheel thing. But it's probably, getting developers on to build these agents, I would say.
And just to add to that, we think that sort of migrating users to upload data that is not publicly available is also going to be a bottleneck, just because a lot of people who aren't crypto native won't understand the privatization and the verifiability, et cetera. So we anticipate those being the two main challenges. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.